This is a Ray X Listener fanfiction written by me, Ginger Lee, titled Behind the Scenes. Chapter 1. The caretaker is for all intents and purposes their mothers. Though they have no blood relations, they spend most of their waking time together. But they are not siblings. Playing in the field every day filled with the little happy things in life. This is Gracefield House, an orphanage, or so they thought. This is YN number 52194, an orphan, or so they thought. YN is amongst one of the older children in Gracefield. Not to mention they have an inordinate sense of hearing and interaction, as they can feel even the lightest of vibrations from meters away. But not just that, they are also the smartest child there, outmarking everyone in the shadows, as in the dark everything won't be seen or found by the ones who do not know it exists. But this knowledge came at a very steep price, and the price was paid when they were 4. YN's POV. A light shake was all it took to wake me up, stretching my limbs out before a hand snuck behind my back, picking me up into a familiar warm scent that reminded me of hot cocoa or freshly dried clothes, with a scent that I'd like to say is the sun. I inhaled deeply at the scent before they spoke. "Good morning, YN." I simply nodded onto their shoulder before they let me down, my bare feet hitting the cold wooden floor, as they soon helped me get ready when they said, "Today's my last day, so we can read books together if you want." I responded back with an almost silent hum before letting a yawn escape from the slivers of my lips, still drowsy from my slumber. After a few minutes I was ready, and we made our way to the dining hall, only to be greeted by none other than Mom. "Good morning, darlings," she said, looking down at us as Alice responded cheerfully, while I, on the other hand, could only let out a mere mumble. As we made our way to our seats, sitting down, I was finally fully awake to the intoxicating scent of food, as everybody soon said in unison, "Thank you for the food." I quickly picked up my spoon, taking a sip of the hot and fragrant mushroom soup, before dunking a small piece of bread into it, before putting the now soaked edible sponge into my mouth, letting the soup explode and my taste buds dance to the flavor. As I finished eating, I heard Alice giggle. Looking over, I saw her holding a napkin before placing her hand onto my chin, grabbing onto it softly before wiping my face clean from all the crumbs or splatters, while Mom announced, "Before the test, I would like to announce that Alice will be leaving after lunch." Everyone was shocked at the news, as Alice nodded, before looking up away from me, as we all finished our meals and made our way to the dark test room. I put on the noise-canceling headphones, picking up the pen, when I heard a robotic voice say, "H4, test 1. Answer each question in under 10 seconds. I took a deep breath in before letting it out, focusing all my energy onto the test. Doing each question in under 10 seconds, as it requested. After around 20 minutes, we all finished our tests as Mom opened the curtains, and the only sounds that could be heard throughout the rooms were some kids groaning and sighing when I heard Dawn said, "I didn't even finish half of it." Mom took the results, looking over at us when she announced them. I looked out the window, thinking of the books in the library and the scent of wood in there, along with the unique sound the floorboards make in comparison to the rest of the house. Afterwards, Mom told us it was free time, so me and Alice made our way to the library to read a new series of books written by Mr. Minerva. When we were a few books in, I noticed the owl logo all are not because they were old, that they were losing their color or anything of that sort, but Morse code. I looked over at Alice, pulling onto her shirt. She hummed at me before turning to look at me, closing her book as I showed it to her. She grazed a finger onto it, spelling out DOUBT? Doubt? She said, questioning, before quickly flipping open the book in hand and decoding it. "Run," I said, standing onto the table, looking over another book, as we soon found them all. When she said to me, "Doubt, danger, truth," before I followed by saying, "Run, farm, promise?" As we looked at each other sitting down, I suddenly got an idea. It was crazy, but it was possible. But I think Alice beat me to it. When she said, "I have a hunch, but I think it's quite out there." I nodded, knowing we must have the same idea at this point, and looked at her dead in the eyes. "This might not be an orphanage. It might be a farm, and we're not orphans, but cattle for slaughter. There's also a possibility that's the reason why we never received letters from the people who left." I nodded in agreement, thinking, "Yep, she's the smartest person here." Before saying, in a hushed tone I'd normally use, "But we might be overthinking it, right?" She closed her eyes and nodded at this, thinking, before, almost as if she had an idea, looked at me. "Spy on me. Spy on me when I leave. I will be the bait, and if I die, well, then it's true, and if so, you would have to leave this place. But this can only go one of two ways, so it's a 50-50 chance. Okay?" I looked at her. Eyes widened before I closed them, head hung low, thinking as I knew this was the only way. There's only one of two answers, and I couldn't talk her out of it. I prepared myself mentally for the worst, when all of a sudden the sound of a bell rang throughout the halls. Oh, it was lunchtime, I thought, before both of us went out to eat lunch, acting as if we found and know nothing. After lunch, I had a bad feeling about this and the whole farm thing. When Alice called me over before giving me a paper crane, along with her favorite book and a pocket watch, before sliding her own bracelet off and putting it in mine, giving me a hug, and now I know, probably the last one, whispering to me, I have a bad feeling, but always remember, I love you. I nodded as Mom told us to go out and play. I walked to my room as I placed everything on the nightstand. Aside from the bracelet, slipping it onto my wrist and tightening it so it wouldn't fall or rattle around. Before walking out of the room, following them, hopping from tree to tree as we reached the gate. I sat in a tree not too far away, but close enough that I could hear. I looked to see a demon and an old lady standing there when Mom walked to a separate area. Hello, Miss Alice. You have one of two choices. Live and train to be a mother, or be killed here and now. So, work for us, or die. Alice looked at her and asked, eyes widened in shock but still trying to compose herself. Why are you killing children that aren't even of standard? I didn't understand. What does she mean, standard? The lady laughed at this, looking at Alice with a cynical smile. Because we all need to survive, darling. Before Alice looked at the lady that's now stretching out a hand to her, she took it. She took her hand and said, with no hesitation in her voice, I'll work for you. I'll work to live as long as possible, she said, before the lady turned to leave with Alice, when suddenly a flower was stabbed into Alice's chest as the woman watched her lifeless form fall on the ground. I stood there for a second, thinking, stopped there, not knowing what to do, seeing the one person that I cared for die. When suddenly, my flight or fight reflexes kicked in and I ran away in the trees, thinking, no, this can't be possible. Is Alice really? No. Not making a sound, as tears started to burn the corner of my eyes, my body weakening from the sudden wave of shock. When I jumped out of the trees, starting to run onto the field, as suddenly I fell, hitting my head on a cold surface. I heard a few voices yelling out for me, but they were all muffled as my world soon faded to black. The last thing I felt being a tear rolled down my cheeks and the vibrations of my siblings running towards me, my body soon caving in. When I woke up, I saw I was in an infirmary, and not just that, but I couldn't feel anything. Not physically, but emotionally. I couldn't feel anything whatsoever. When suddenly the image of Alice's pale face dead on the ground crossed through my mind, as I thought, I need to find a way out of here. I need to find a way to hide this secret first without seeming suspicious. How? As I sat there thinking, not knowing what to do, a book that I recently read came into mind. The person got amnesia. That's it. Amnesia. I thought to myself, I could fake having amnesia so they wouldn't suspect me. I couldn't finish my thought when suddenly the door opened and Mom stood there. I looked at her as if I didn't even know who she was as she walked over, revealing Norman, Emma, and Ray walking behind her. YN, darling, are you feeling okay? I looked at her, tilting my head. Who are you all, and who's YN? I asked, shocking them all. They tried to make me remember, but I couldn't. Before they all sighed, while Emma cried as Norman noticed something, before whispering to Mom, when she suddenly nodded and asked me, Honey, can you smile for me? I looked at her and asked a question I think no one expected, not even me. What is that, and how do you do it? As I said that, Norman started tearing up as well, soon bursting into tears. I only looked at them. When they walked out, I placed a hand onto my face, slowly moving it up before it hit the start of my bandage. As I guessed that Mom was telling the others about what happened, because the next day, Mom reintroduced myself to everyone and me, as I got used to the numbing feeling that was growing slowly, not knowing what it was and how to stop it. What are they all doing with their mouths? Is that the smiling thing Mom talked about yesterday? Why can't I do it or remember how to do it? Thank you all for listening to that chapter. I know there weren't any Ray or anyone else mentioned. This was more of a backstory thing. I should have put this as an opening, but I did write this as chapter 1, so I didn't really have much of a choice. I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to forget, but I did, so sorry. But I'll be posting again today during the evening. Well, my evening. Well, technically, I'm just gonna be posting later, so yeah, thanks so much. I hope you guys all liked the video, and bye, my little creamers.